The steelworkers were a strong, powerful, dare I say the word thuggish, because they get very mad at me, but they had a reputation. I think they thought they were going to kick Brazil's butt in this whole thing. And I even look back to some of the stories about the strike now, and some other reporters did better jobs of explaining maybe the economy of the strike. I did a better job telling the people's stories, but for whatever reason, because my dad was a Creighton miner, because I just thought it was important to cover, and yeah.
And I was a pretty young reporter at the time.
You were.
And
I was 10 years younger too.
Yes, exactly. We were both 10 years younger, right?
Yeah, but you
were coming at this from a place of experience and having covered this kind of thing before, and
having walked a picket line.
All new to me. You walked a picket line in your job.
With
the Sudbury Star
when we were locked out.
And this is sort of all new to me. Like I'd never covered something like this, so it was pretty crazy time.
Yeah, it was a crazy time.
And we're not going to let this foreign company rob us of our future. This company, in the 2 years that it's been here, the first 2 years that it was here, made twice as much money in those 2 years out of your hard work, out of this community's support. They made twice as much money as Inco did in the previous 10. You go into hyper save mode now, because this is going to be a long one.
They were suspicious of the media, I think.
I would have to talk to 10 people to maybe get one to talk to me. Like, they didn't all want to talk to me. But fortunately, I am from Coppercliff. I grew up there, so I knew some of the people on strike, and that definitely gave me an in.
I had to really almost entertain, you know, when you're just trying to be really nice to people to get them to talk to you, like in an almost...
You have to build relationships.
Exactly.
And which you did and I did.
But what I said, and I said if I said it once, I said it 100 times, my father was a Creighton miner. He died at 40. Mining didn't kill him, but it didn't help. And that was always my entree. I mean, it's not like they welcomed me with open arms, but the fact my father was a Creighton miner earned me some credibility with them. But it was a struggle. You've just got to go up to ask these angry people to talk to you when they really don't want to talk to you. But, you know, eventually, I think they finally realized we were just trying to tell their stories, you know?
We're taking a stand now for everyone to hear us.
Who are we? Steelworkers! What do we want? Fair deal! When do we want it? Now!
Did you have any experiences on the picket line where you were afraid or you were somewhat intimidated?
I don't think so. When they had that contract in March that they didn't recommend, but Vale had presented it right, and the union let them vote on it. They ultimately rejected it, and they were burning the contracts and stuff like that. There was one or two intoxicated individuals.
I was challenged, I would say threatened twice by a security guard. One time I thought he was going to take my camera. It was something at Garson Mine, and I demanded to see his identification, and he showed me his badge and he put his finger over his name and number. I went to my car and I called Corey McPhee in Toronto. I said, you call your goons off. I'm doing my job, taking pictures. Oh, I was so upset.
Good for you.
Well, and I went back to the paper. To me, that was an assault. I mean, it was, he didn't strike me. But another time at Coppercliff Smelter, they were very aggressive. And they were all 6'6", Heidi, and you know,
you're like
I'm 4'10". So, I mean, they really were very threatening.
If the company was using security as a kind of an intimidation factor, what was the union's response? Like,
well, they were harnessing, I guess, the internet. Remember on their website,
Strike Force.
There was the Strike Force 6500 Facebook page, which I eventually got banned from pulling comments from. I don't know if you ever got banned.
I didn't get banned, but I almost got fired. I could tell you about that someday because of a comment I made on there.
Oh, and also on 6500's website. They were posting pictures of the replacement workers of the scabs and of the AFI International. And at one point, I think they even had a section for the local 2020, people, their fellow steelworkers.
They were not happy when they settled.
Yes, exactly. When Local 2020 settled with Vale right during the strike, and they didn't join them on the picket line.
The office clerical and technical.
And they were saying 2020 was actually filling in for them in some
regards. They probably were.
Yeah.
How would you like it if someone came and took your job?
when I was at the picket lines, I never saw any violence. I saw people yelling and swearing and, you know, maybe keeping cars a little bit longer, but you know what they were like, Heidi. I mean, if I were alone driving a car through a crowd like that, I'd be intimidated.
Vale Inco's got to go.
I don't know if you remember this, Heidi, that at that big rally at the arena, that Leo Gerard and the unions from all over the world were there. And Leo Gerard's comment, "If you're not for us, you're against us." Do you remember that?
Every citizens in our community, because our fight is your fight. If the business community is going to side with Vale Inco on this, then they're siding on the wrong side because they're taking money out of their own pocket. And my view is pretty simple in this strike. If you're siding with the company, you're against us.
They wanted the businesses to put signs up saying they supported the steelworkers. But I don't think, 20 years ago, earlier, if Gerard had made that comment, it might have had more impact. But, those were the days of 20,000 miners.
I don't think that the community was like totally rah-rah for the miners. There was a lot of nasty comments on our comment section, and social media was new at the time.
Yes,
and on
it
social
was
media,
vicious, yeah.
It was pretty vicious, yes.
What was the public's criticism then?
Well, they make too much money. They already make too much money. They're never satisfied.
The story I often tell about the end of the strike is you and I, along with the other local media, were there, waiting all day at the arena in Lively, waiting for the results and trying to get people to talk to us about what they thought of the contract and stuff like that. And eventually, John Farah and the rest of the bargaining team comes out and tells us the results. The parking lot was packed with the giant trucks and the Harleys and stuff like that. Anyway, at the end of the night, you and I get into our respective Saturns. We were both driving Saturns at the time.
Mine was about 10 years old, too.
Mine was a 2002.
12
and we
years,
drove off into the sunset.
Yeah, that's right,
and,
that's right.
They all drove off with their big trucks.
And we probably worked 12 hours with no overtime,
Did anyone win?
I don't think the steelworkers won the strike. They had some concessions, didn't they? But they were just glad to go back to work at a certain point.
I think there's a sense, though, I don't know, as a worker, as a person who was a union member at the time, I thought, oh my God, if the most powerful union in Canada, and probably one of the most powerful unions in the world, can't hold on to what it has, there is no hope for newspaper unions, smaller unions. But if you talk to people who are involved in the strike, they will still say that it was worth it, that you can't lie down. You can't just give it up without a fight.